Hey guys, how's it going? It's Al. My top 10 running back rankings for 2022 fantasy football drafts is right here. This is what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to go through my list. These are the guys that I like in the order that I like them. Now, they may not match ADP. They may not match what your list is. Why don't you tell me your top 5 down below in the replies? I'm not going to be mad at you for your top 5. I'm not going to be mad at you if your top 5 doesn't match my top 5. It's your top 5. So put yours in the replies down below. I'm going to tell you what order I like them in, and I'm sure that you're not going to like a few of them. And a couple are very interesting from an ADP standpoint because they definitely stand out as different from where they are in real money drafts right now. So without any further ado, why don't you guys drop a like on the video? Welcome to the new fantasy football channel that I'm trying to build. We are a couple hundred away from 1,000 subscribers, which is a big benchmark on YouTube that you have to get to 1,000 subscribers. So if you are new to this channel, if you watch my other content for daily fantasy on the main channel or the Smizzle Games channel where we talk about NFTs and everything else, if you're from those channels and you're coming over here, please drop a sub on this channel, ring that notifications bell, like the video, leave that comment down below, all the things that help me out in the algorithm as we try to build here. And let's go!
He's a legend.
Real money drafts are already occurring. I know that it's super early. It's only April the 5th. We're doing this from a pre-NFL draft standpoint. If things change in the NFL draft, I'm going to update this at least once, maybe twice over the course of the summer as things kind of change. We're going to go over some videos with value running backs, value wide receivers, quarterbacks that are outside of the top 10 that might end the season there. I've got a whole off-season list of videos to do, but here is where the ADPs are currently for real money drafts that are happening on Underdog Fantasy. If you are not signed up and want to play best ball this offseason, Underdog Fantasy is the best place for best ball, in my opinion. And you can use promo code ALSMIZZLE, all one word, to get some free money on your first deposit. They also have Pick'em running all throughout the year if you wanted to fill out kind of like fantasy-based parlay cards and have a little bit of a free money to do it. They have a deposit match. It might be up to 100. It might be 25. It fluctuates. So like, I don't know what it is when you're watching this video, but you will get something free on your first deposit if you use promo code ALSMIZZLE. My number 1 running back, the RB1 on my list for this year. Shocker. It is Jonathan Taylor. He was an absolute monster last year. He is the first running back being chosen. He is typically being the first pick overall in most drafts. Ran for 1,800 yards, 18 touchdowns last year, 30 inside the 5 carries. If you don't really understand what that means, inside the 5 carries are the highest leverage carries for a running back. A lot of people look at red zone touches, and the red zone touches are important, but like, is a carry from the 19-yard line as valuable as a carry from the 1 or the 2-yard line? No. The ones from the 1 and 2 turn into touchdowns way more often. He had 30 carries inside the 5 last year. No other running back had over 18. He absolutely dominated that close to the goal line volume. Here's my little spreadsheet that I have. We can sort by rushes inside. You can see he had 30 of them. James Conner had 18, Gibson 17, 16, 16, 15. It's like, it was a big bunch. This is where everybody kind of bunches up. And you can see those running touchdowns. The league average is somewhere around like 45%, and that's sticky going back like the last 10 years. So like, you see guys that have over 50%, like James Conner got 15 of 18. This number is likely to regress, but like, volume can overcome a drop in efficiency. If he keeps like 18 to 20 inside the 5 carries, but only gets like 9 touchdowns on the ground, he's still going to be very valuable. Or somebody like here, like Dalvin Cook, who only ran in 6 on 15, you could expect him, if he keeps the same volume, to pick up in terms of touchdowns. But, you know, back to our boy Jonathan Taylor right here. He's as good as it gets. He had 89 red zone carries. As I said, he dominated the carries inside the 5. He also dominated red zone carries. He had 89 of them, and number 2 had like 48. So if that sort of, and if the coaching staff is the same, the offense is going to be the same, if his utilization stays the same and he stays healthy and maintains that edge over the entire field, the touchdowns are going to have some stickiness to them because that volume is what matters. Speaking of volume mattering, Christian McCaffrey is my RB2 right now. And I know that this one is we're going to get a lot of crossed arms and we're going to get a lot of people who don't like this. There's going to be some people who agree. There's going to be other people who are going to cross their arms and say, I'm never picking Christian McCaffrey again. He burned me the last 2 seasons. He's too injury prone. I'm not going to pick him. That's not going to happen. I won't even pick him in the first round. You're nuts if you're not going to pick this guy in the first round, because when he is healthy, there's nobody whose volume is better. And it's a position where injury is a part of it. We used to talk about, this is like 10 years ago when I was really into fantasy baseball, season-long stuff. You didn't spend a lot of draft capital on closers because over 40% of guys who start the season as the closer don't end the season as their team's closer. That is sticky in the NFL. And we've known this. This is why zero running back drafts happen. This is why people take wide receivers earlier in drafts, because you can find guys on the waiver wire. You can find guys later in drafts who are going to be starting running backs as injuries occur, as it's endemic. It's part of the position. It's just the grind of the game. Now, McCaffrey has had contact injuries. He hasn't had like soft tissue injuries. So those are the ones that are a little bit more, this is a player breaking down. He's had contact injuries like with his wrist and contact injury with his chest, where it's a different situation. When he plays, there is nobody that gets the volume, especially for full PPR, but it also carries over to half because of how much volume he gets in the passing game. For him to have the amount of fantasy points that he can generate without scoring touchdowns. I think one game on DraftKings last year, he had something like 27 DraftKings points, 98 yards, didn't even get your 100-yard bonus, but 89 receiving, 98 on the ground, 9 catches, 95 yards on the ground in this one, 66 through the air, 10 catches. The amount of points that he just grinds up during a game because of how included in the passing game he is on a game in, game out basis for that Panthers team makes him extremely viable. And he also gets you those inside the 5 carries. He also gets you that red zone usage. So there is touchdown upside that goes along with him as well, even if that offense isn't as great as it was when Cam Newton was in his prime and at the helm. Austin Ekeler is my RB3. His ADP is 6.5. I believe that he is like the RB4 in terms of ADP, but based on, look, just like I skew towards rushing quarterbacks, I skew towards pass catching running backs. That's just the way that I do things. I want to go for the guys that are going to give me those bonus points, that high floor with the also combination of high ceiling. And the one thing that was missing from Austin Ekeler's game in past years was the inside the 5 touches, the inside the 5 carries. They fixed that last year, getting him like way up into the high teens, which was great. We love to see that. And he responded with a ton of rushing touchdowns. He also had 8 receiving touchdowns. And that's kind of the thing where I think might not be sticky, because it's going to be hard for him to catch for 8 touchdowns again. Now he might, but the rushing touchdowns are going to be a little bit more sticky. There's going to be more variance on the receiving touchdowns because those weren't end zone targets, which was the high volume or the high variance. He scored more of the high variance ones from further than 5, further than 10 yards from the end zone. He's not racking up end zone targets. So he may decrease in those, 8 receiving touchdowns that he got. But like, I'm high on this Los Angeles Chargers offense. I'm really high on Herbert, and with 3 main targets, Ekeler being one of them, not many receivers are going to get that 16 to 20% of the target market share on their teams, as well as the inside the 5 carries. So I absolutely love Austin Ekeler in that spot. Derrick Henry is my RB4, was on pace for an absolutely monstrous and absurdity, an impossibility of a season last year. He has an ADP of 4.5, going ahead of Austin Ekeler. I'm going to take Ekeler's floor. Maybe it's me writing this or projecting this out on him, that they may have to change the way that they utilize him early in the season, spell him more, not give him the workload that he got early in the season, as they're a completely different team without him. Now, the running backs don't matter crowd is not going to like the fact that Derrick Henry does matter to what they are trying to do in Tennessee, but they need him more in December and January than they need him in September and October. So I could see a little bit of a decrease in terms of his overall volume, though his inside the 5 volume should remain. As always, we want to see more targets per game from Derrick Henry, and that was something that was happening last year. They did give him like 2-3 targets a game. If he jumps up to that 4 target per game average that would be absolutely stellar with everything that he can do on the ground. Now, the one ADP that does not mix here, my RB5 right now is Leonard Fournette, who was being drafted. He's the RB, he's got an ADP of 78.4. That's not correct. It's correct in the sense that that's where he was being drafted, but he was not signed to a team. Nobody knew what his job was going to be, and Tom Brady was retired. So now his ADP has skyrocketed since both of those things has changed, where he has signed back with the Buccaneers. Rojo is now gone. He's going to be the lead back once again. He was third in the league in terms of running back targets. He only had 14 games and was on pace to lead the league in terms of that. He was also tied for 8th in terms of those inside the 5 carries. So high floor, high upside in a very high octane offense with Tom Brady leading it. Leonard Fournette, I would draft him as the RB5, though I think he's going to fall around the RB7 or 8 because there's this narrative that he is old. Right? He's 27, guys. Every other running back on this list is either 26 or 28, with few exceptions who are a little bit younger, the guys who are entering their second years. But like Derrick Henry, 28 years old. Austin Ekeler, 26 years old. Christian McCaffrey, 25 years old. Leonard Fournette, 27 years old. You could make the argument that he's an old 27, but he looked pretty spry to me last season. So like, I'm not shying away from Leonard Fournette. The floor ceiling combo here is absolutely outstanding. 20 touches a game with multiple. Look at all these receptions every single game. Tom Brady loves checking down to him, and he gives you the touchdown upside, as many points as that offense does score. Go check out the new shorts channel that I have here on YouTube, Al Smizzle Shorts. It's not like my shorts, but it's like short videos, kind of like the TikToks and IG Reels. We now have them on YouTube as well, so we're going to be posting micro content to that channel. So if you wanted that to show up in your feed, little teaser videos about everything, whether it's card openings, whether it's fantasy football talk, whether it's NFT stuff, all that stuff is going to go on the Shorts and Clips channel. So go check that out. Everybody's favorite breakout candidate is Javonte Williams, my RB6. We're still kind of waiting. I think that this kid is phenomenal. Everybody thinks that this kid is phenomenal. That offense takes a large leap forward. Volume is really the key here with Javonte. If they're going to give him 20 touches a game, he's going to be mostly unstoppable. With Russ Wilson at the helm, this offense will score more points, will take more trips to the red zone, more trips inside the 5 and 10. I have him as the RB6. I believe he's being drafted. Let me go back over here to where he is right now. They've got him as the RB7. So I'm a little higher than what ADP data has him at, but like not all that much. I could see people ranking him as like, and being like really aggressive, whether it's for article writing or for videos or for clicks. Hey, this is my top 10 running backs. You won't believe number 3. I could see all that stuff sort of happening. I'm, measured takes only from this account. He's my RB6 with an arrow. If this Denver offense reaches its peak with Russ Wilson, where they cannot be stopped, they've got attackers at all different levels in the passing game, and Javonte Williams was one of the best pass catching backs in last year's draft. Young, spry, great tackle breaker, lots of yards after first contact, great on the ground and through the air, good floor, good ceiling, and depending on how much they commit to him, meaning that if he gets like 60% of the running back touches on Denver, he'll be fine. But if he gets 80+%, he could really shoot up draft boards if that's where it's kind of trending, or he will end up the season being underdrafted and outperform his draft slot in that spot. Dalvin Cook 2 years ago led the league in terms of inside the 5 carries. Last year, he was, what did he have, like 15 or 16? So he did really well still in terms of that volume, but underperformed, as we talked about early in the video, scored less than he should have on those carries that were close. So that inefficiency should work itself out. We should see some regression to the mean in a positive way for Dalvin Cook, assuming that this Minnesota offense stays good. It should, with the weapons that they still have on this offense, including him and Justin Jefferson and Thielen and everybody else that they have. People don't like Kirk Cousins, but Kirk Cousins is fine and he moves on offense, which means that he should be getting a lot of red zone trips as well as inside the 5 carries, as he's seen like 46 of them the last 2 seasons. And if he scores touchdowns on 45% of those, that gives us that upside that we want. You know that he's going to get those 20 touches. Was not as involved in the passing game as some of these other guys that we've seen, but that touchdown upside, especially on a week in, week out basis, you know that he's going to get his touches when healthy and enough usage in the passing game to be viable. Somebody who got a ton of usage in the passing game is Najee Harris, somebody that I'm very high on coming into this year. He has an ADP of 11.1 right now. Or sorry, of 8.3 right now. Dalvin Cook was 11.1. I kind of feel like he's being a little bit overdrafted, even though he led the position in terms of targets with 94 of them last year, although 19 of them came in one game. This is more the week in, week out, which is less than somebody like Leonard Fournette, but it's still very solid. A very good running back. They are, it's Pittsburgh, so they want that identity of running the football constantly and having that big one back that they can go behind. Tomlin loves doing that. They will have, in my opinion, an upgrade at quarterback this season, going from a 74-year-old Ben Roethlisberger to like a 26, 27-year-old Mitchell Trubisky. Obviously, Ben Roethlisberger in his prime is way better than Mitchell Trubisky in his, but just the threat of an arm from Trubisky should open up a little bit more downfield usage, which should keep safeties off the line a little bit more and open up some running lanes for Harris, where that offensive line has gotten better this offseason and should keep him from that low yards per carry that we see from him, 3.9. He should be more efficient on his carries, and with the amount of touches he's going to get, or opportunities, rush attempts plus targets being around 400, there is certainly big time upside for him here, as well as a baked in floor with all of those touches. Alvin Kamara comes in as my RB9. Now we're getting into with Harris and Kamara, we're getting into the high target running backs. You know what Alvin Kamara can do in the passing game. I believe, this is me projecting here, I believe that the Saints offense will be better with the re-inclusion of Michael Thomas, giving them more dynamicism. I don't know how to put that word. Like just they're going to be more dynamic on offense with a big time target monster on the outside, opening things up on the inside for Alvin Kamara. And no matter what you think about Jameis Winston, we'll see if LASIK Jameis is better now than he was before. But I prefer this offense with Winston over Taysom Hill and whatever else they trucked out in the absence of Drew Brees last season after Jameis suffered that season-ending injury. So there is some danger here, as they did not run a very aggressive offense with Jameis under center early in the season. So I'm hoping that they open things up a little bit more, and that's possibly because they just did not have game breakers on the outside. So the addition of Michael Thomas makes everybody else in that passing game fall into line, including Alvin Kamara, which opens things up for everybody, including the quarterback. So I'm hoping that this offense does a little bit better. And then a little more projecting for me, DAndre Swift is my RB10, an ADP of 19.2, basically being drafted in that spot right now. 5.84 targets per game. I'm hoping for an increase in his red zone usage, which is really where he struggled last year. Every game that he was healthy, he was extremely viable and constantly underpriced on DraftKings all season long, and was virtually ignored in best ball. Where like early in the best ball season, I remember around April or May, I was very high on DAndre Swift, and then I backed off just like everybody else backed off. Once they signed Williams and once everything else came into play, we didn't know how they were going to utilize him. I'm hoping for an increase because they are a better offense when DAndre Swift is on the field, and hopefully they don't just go with a running back by committee approach where he was glaringly underused in the red zone and inside the 5 last season. A very talented back, not just a pass catching back. Hoping for 20 touches per game on average from him, or 20 plus opportunities for game. 16 carries and 6 targets is extremely important because targets are worth 2.8 carries when it comes to fantasy point expectations. That's it. I want to see your 5 in the replies down below, and look out for another video right there.
He's a legend.